All right, so let's learn about slope. Slope is the change in y over the change in x, and all slope is a ratio. So what you want to do is, because it's a linear function, it's a constant rate of change. It doesn't matter if you're if you're comparing this point to this point, for instance, or this point to this point. You're going to have the same ratio, the same change of y over the change in x. So we're just going to compare. Change in x there from 0 to 1 is a 1. And this should always be a positive number. And the change in y here, we can see it went from -9 to +6. So this changed 9 and then 6, so that's 15. Now, if you're having trouble counting here, what you can always do is you can take the second value, so that's 6, and you can subtract the previous value, that's -9, and you can get your change in y, okay? So that's 15. So the change here is 15 over 1. All right, let's go to the next guy, and again, you can do the same thing. Let's compare, and you want to pick the two easiest points. Usually they're the closest, but you can choose. If you don't like dealing with negatives, you can use positives. But 8 minus 4, this went up 4 on the x. And then 12 minus 6, that went up 6 on the y. And slope is also going to be your simplest form in the fraction. So this is 3 over 2. All right, let's go to the next guy. And I'm going to choose right here. From 0 to -3, we went down 3 on the x. And from -2 to 2 on the y, that is a change. That's not the same value. If you do 2 minus 2 negatives, we can see that went up 4. All right, let's go to the next guy. From 0 to 1, that's a change of 1 on the x. From 1 to 4, that's a change of 3 on the y, so that's just 3. All right, let's come down here. We can see that there is no change on y, but there's a change of 1 on the x. So 1 over, now what's the change of y? There is no change, so we say 0. And 0 over 1 is just 0. Okay, change in x here, even though it doesn't say x, number of raffle tickets is your independent variable. To get from 2 to 4, that's 2. To get from 1 to 2, that's 1. There's our rate of change. Okay. No change for the x. It stays 5 throughout. So that's on the bottom. Remember, it's a change in y over the change in x. I'm going to put a 0 on the bottom. And then our change in y here is it goes up 2. Now 2 over 0. And if you put that in a calculator, it should end up with something weird if you do this correctly. 2 divided by 0. It's going to give you an error. It's because you can't do it. This is an undefined slope. And finally, we're going to have a couple that we might need to know that are fractions or decimals. The change in x here is 2. The change in y here from 2550 to 4250. Remember, you take the preceding value, 4250, and you subtract the preceding value, that's 2550, and that's 17. So 17 over 2.